Hey everybody, this is Bonnie's Eye with Bonnie DeShong and friends. And one of my friends today is the amazing, talented, wonderful, and fine, I must say, Carl Clemons-Hopkins. How are you?
Hello, Bonnie. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Go, no problem whatsoever. Okay, Carl is in this play called The Most Spectacularly Lamentable Trial of Miss Martha Washington.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All that.
All that. And it's written by Pulitzer Prize playwright James Ijames. And, I saw it, I spoke with Celeste
Oh,
before
excellent,
the
excellent.
play.
Okay,
Yes. And then I saw the play on Sunday.
okay.
And I'm so happy to be talking to you after.
Oh,
Because,
great.
baby, that's some serious 90 minutes of theater
Mhm.
on the stage. Give everybody a synopsis of what the play is about.
Yeah, the play in general, Martha Washington, who is, as you know from history, is the wife of George Washington, is sick in her Mount Vernon, what you call it,
Plantation.
plantation. Well, it's multiple plantations. There's plantations and stables, and like we did some research on the actual property that people still tour in Virginia. So it's a whole thing. And in this play, the people who are supposed to be taking care of her are haunting her in a fever dream in an effort to illuminate the situation in which they all find themselves to her. And James, the playwright, has us going through all of these various styles of performance and theater and expression in order to, I think, hopefully highlight some of the very real, the abject stubbornness that is American racism, but also it gives, in its own way, it gives a bit of a reprieve and honor to these people who were enslaved by allowing some outlandish and absurd and sometimes equally highly comedic and directly tragic situations in the same moment sometimes, which is actually a very real reflection of Black life in this country. You know, it's the giggle at the funeral. It's the slide joke to get through some type of terrible event, and that's all happening in 90 minutes or sometimes less.
Well, I'm telling you, because you guys actually work it. I'm not gonna lie, when it was a long Sunday for
Mhm.
me, and when we came in and they said the play is 90 minutes long, no intermission. First thing I said was, yes.
Yeah, everything that happens at the theater is a short play. God
It's
bless
a
us.
short play, but the whole point is once you get into the play, you realize that it's short, but it's intense.
Hmm.
And I can only imagine what you guys are going through on the stage. Now, for those of you who the whole premise too is that in George Washington's will,
Hmm.
he stated that upon the death of Martha, all of the enslaved people would be free, and they would also have lodging. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Or
they would be given freedom in some sort of, for lack of a better term, severance package in the sense of some types of means to go forward, either lodging on Mount Vernon or the papers necessary to get to where they need to go or they would want to go. But there would be some type of redemption going on at the event of her demise. And the play reaches us, the play opens with us hastening her demise. It's kind of a by hook or by crook, we get out of here. That's where the play opens.
it is it's amazing all the talent that is on that stage. Um the and what you learn. It's like
Mhm.
when, and I'm sorry I don't know the gentleman's name who plays this character. He is her her nephew.
Celeste's grandson, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, the actor's name is Victor Musoni. He's brilliant. He plays William Dandridge. And William Dandridge was the child of rape that involved Martha Washington's son, Jackie Custis, and her sort of half-sister, Anne Dandridge. And Dandridge is the child of rape, which is very prevalent within American slavery, of Martha's father and the cook, Dorcas, who was an enslaved person in Mount Vernon. So the character Will he has this line early on in the play, "You're my auntie granny."
Yeah.
Daddy is your son, my mother is your sister. And that whole twisted relationship comes to light very early in the piece.
And not only that, her sister, who you never hear her call her sister, of course she wouldn't do that.
No, she doesn't admit to even acknowledging her lineage until later in the play after all these trials and tribulations.
It's the main one that's taking care of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that she depends upon all the time. Okay, now when y'all go to see this play, and I want you to go see it because it is amazing. You guys go in and out of space and time, but you bring it all back together. This woman is in a fever pitched delusion, but you're doing all kinds of game show and this, that, and the other, and bringing it back and forth. When you started rehearsing or reading the script, did it blow your mind? Did it make sense to you?
Oh yes, it was mind blowing. So I've known James for quite some time, and he sent this to me a few years back. First of all, we started rehearsals for this in 2020, and then week 2 was March 13th, 2020, and so we had to shut down. So we didn't come back until August. But James sent me this play a few years back, and I saw the title, I saw the first page, and I said, "Hey, buddy, I'm sure this is great, but I don't do plantations." And he was like, "Just read it, please read it." And by page 2, I was cracking up. So, and by page 63 or what have you, it completely blows your wig back. And it also, for a theater actor, the opportunity to, as you said, go from, starting in a period piece that also feels sort of like a sitcom, and then going to a vaudeville section, then going to a game show, and then going to a fever dream, then going to a ceremonial, spiritually equipping movement piece, then going to a ladies' parlor with fans and boas and very respectable situations, then going to a whole double dutch situation. Like, it's what it allows you to do in such a short amount of time as a theater artist is so incredible and so unparalleled. And it also is an interesting and biting. It is a satire, but it's a biting comment on the amount of dramatics and hoops we've had to jump through and go through as a people in order to just be seen as human, much less to be recognized as worthy. So what the play allows the audience to, the ride the audience to go through, I think is really spectacular, which is why it's in the title. But it's also really, really special. And I'm so excited that you and others are getting to experience that.
Oh, and I mean, it hits you in the audience because you're sitting there thinking, I'm looking at a play.
Mm-hmm.
But for people of color especially, and I don't know about other people, it hits you how things have not changed. Hey, it happens. How things have not changed and how we're still jumping through hoops,
mm-hmm.
and how we are still looked at as property,
mm-hmm.
or less than, or whatever. It's interesting to see Martha going through all the stuff that she went through, and then still coming out at the end. Because everybody, I mean, at one point, all of us in the audience were saying, "Just free them now, just free them." If you're scared they're going to kill you, just free them.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
no, not gonna happen.
That level of headassery, but that level of, uh, to put it as light as possible, stubbornness, and resistance to just human equality is where we have found ourselves so many times that now, you know, here in September 2022, it's been more than time up. It's been more than due. So I'm hoping that this will allow for us at least recognition of, yeah, this is how it's been. And I'm so glad to see it in this light, because what I also love about this play is that it's not, I feel like when dealing with American slavery, a lot of the time, most of the time, it is for a white audience member to have some type of epiphany, for someone to
Mhm.
go, oh, that's so terrible. And that's not our intention here.
Mm-mm.
We are seeing a group of people ready to kill for their freedom. And we are, as a people, out, not out, but pretty much almost out of civil options. You know, we have tried things, progresses have been made, and it's really an until freedom kind of time. So it's I think it very much speaks to the tenuous spirit of the day. And this play was written 8 years ago. This play was written in 2014. I first saw it in a workshop in Philly in 2014. So the
Wow.
fact that it's still so resonant and still so poignant is very exciting and also very upsetting at the same time. But I also think that's the function of theater, you know. So I'm hoping that it serves as a balm and a somewhat reprieve for the people who have been enduring the same treatment. And I also hope that it serves as a wake up call and a not even a conversation starter. It's a get your house in order.
Mhm.
Pick a side yesterday because time's really up.
It's interesting because my best friend and I were there, and on the way home, we were saying, I wonder, because you guys weren't, the enslaved weren't supposed to know about that clause in
Mhm.
Washington's will.
Yeah.
And we were wondering when Martha passed, if it would have actually come to pass, or would they been remained enslaved?
I
Because I
think,
can't see somebody saying, okay, y'all go.
yeah, I don't think historically that it actually happened, either by legal runaround or by someone else's taking over. You know, it's interesting. All of the facts of the play in the play are true facts, even down to like my character's name of Davy. There was an enslaved person the on the Mount Vernon property named Davy. There were all of our names are coming from very real Mount Vernon documents, and then the fantasy elements, of course, the fantasy elements. But I don't believe that she actually did carry through with that, and we certainly know that slavery didn't end in 1800. So it that is a very real conversation to be had when leaving the theater. Like, oh wow, all of this, and still, and then it causes you to think about all of the other unnamed efforts and sacrifices and works to keep us moving forward that ended up being at the time in vain, or
Mhm.
not enough, or still, you know, 2 steps forward, 80 steps back. And that's a real, I think, a real important conversation to be had upon leaving this play.
Now, everybody, I know we're talking serious, and the seriousness of the um, spirit of the play is there, but it is funny as all get out. It's, I mean, hilariously funny, where you can't help but just laugh, gut laugh in places. But Carl, I have got to give major props to the wardrobe
Oh
people
yes,
who are
Musoni.
backstage getting y'all in and out of those costumes.
Yes, and yeah, no, the quick changes are quick and they're elaborate. Uh, uh, Azumi is a costume designer. She made these amazing costumes, and our wardrobe crew is exceptional, exceptional. And the way how we were able to and have been able to get these things done on time, where sometimes with ability to breathe before an entrance, is incredible. So they are the stars of this show, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm telling you, the play is worth going to see just for that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, and when I say changes, and Carl just mentioned them, they're not just like, okay, I'm gonna put a hat on, I'm gonna put it
No,
different. No, they've got
it
high
should.
boots, shoes, they've got elaborate dresses, and your character coming out as the angel of George Washington.
Yes. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my absolute favorites.
Oh God, you worked it. I just want you to know you worked it. Worked it.
I appreciate that.
What is it that you really want our listeners to know about this play that you want them to leave with when they walk out the theater? And even think about once they get home, because sometimes you walk out the theater, you're gonna go eat.
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
you
for sure.
yeah, what do you want them to take away?
I want them to take away. I want them to take away the real power and the real need for our joy. This play, you walk into the theater and you're immediately met with a stage surrounded by cotton, because those are the stakes. It's the very real bedrock of America. And the truth of the matter is, our joy, as it's so ingrained in our resilience and has been since we got here. And being able to find those belly laughs, being able to find those moments of just ridiculousness, I think it's very equipping. James has something in the text at the beginning of the play about laughter and how enslaved people weren't allowed to laugh or express themselves. That we used to have what's called laughing barrels, to put your head down in it. That's where the phrase "a barrel of laughs" comes from. Yeah, enslaved people would have to, if you had to, laughter, any show of emotion was not really allowed. It's how the impetus of songs and work songs or whatever came about, and people thought, oh, they're just out there singing in the field. The body must express somehow, and when you're being accosted with American slavery, it has to come out somehow. And so the ability to find humor and jokes, usually at the expense of Martha Washington, I would want an audience member to leave with the recognition of the real power of Black joy, and I would hope that they would take that with them, because not that this is anything new, but it is yet still hard out here. Mm-hmm. It's still a pandemic. It's still, all the boxes, all the fools, all the craziness. And if in this 90 minutes you can find some laughter amidst some tears, I would hope that you would take that with you, because I know that joy is the only way that I've gotten through, specifically the last few years, but definitely the last, several decades. So I would hope that they would leave with that. We've also had some people who, a few older white people who walked out, who were not down with it, who were offended, their sensibilities couldn't take it. And that also makes me happy, because that means it's working. So I would hope that those who especially identify with the Black ensemble, I hope they get a semblance of a good time and a point of view to a certain era that they've not seen before. This is not, and nothing against other people's productions or depictions or stories of this time, but this is not, we're not recreating graphic violence. We are reenacting some very real, serious, terrible events, but it's not for the point of pity. It is for the point of education and understanding and context for why this resilience is the way it is.
Well, I have to tip my hat to Steppenwolf,
Yeah,
because they are not scared to bring anything to the stage.
Yeah, and Glenn Davis and Audrey Francis, who are the choreography directors, are are phenomenal and have been phenomenal. And I'm so excited for what they're bringing. And, 1919 is rehearsing right now, which I don't know much about, but I'm definitely going to see, because it deals with Black Chicago in 1919.
About the riot.
Yeah. And the fact that they have that paired with Miss Martha at around the same time, in the programming is bold. When I was coming up in theater, Black artists didn't really get a gig in the theater unless it was February. And so the fact that they are acknowledging that we have, both year-round bills and also different stories to tell, that's really, really big and bold and amazing. And I'm really grateful to both of them and to the company for allowing that to happen.
Well, I want everyone, I encourage you, I'm giving it 4 winks of the eye out of 4.
Yes.
It is an amazing production. I'm gonna tell you, from the first 5 to 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
especially when my man starts, when she says, "Tell me a story,"
Mm-hmm.
and he goes from the history of the birth of the world all the way through today, and it's like he doesn't take a breath.
He's incredible.
He wore me out then.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Yes.
wore out then.
Those 5 minutes, yeah.
Say that's the way to do it. So everybody, go see this play. Say the name again because it's too long for me.
Yes. The Most Spectacularly Lamentable Trial of Ms. Martha Washington by James Ijames.
It is so amazing. You can visit steppenwolf.org, steppenwolf.org. Get your tickets, take your family.
Yes.
It's great for a wonderful group date type
Yes.
of thing.
Yeah. Those are people you enjoy hanging around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have a great bar.
Amazing.
So you can sit down and talk and have a drink afterwards. Carl Clemons-Hopkins, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. And I may come and see it again.
Please do. Please do. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
You take care.
You too.